All right, hey guys, and welcome back, and a very happy May the 4th be with you, unofficial Star Wars Day to everyone. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to take a look at some of my favorite Star Wars toys that I have in my collection, and some of these are actually ones that I had growing up. Now, my story with Star Wars, honestly, it's a little fuzzy. I remember that I got some of my first Star Wars toys probably right around the time Return of the Jedi came out, which is kind of ironic because Return of the Jedi is now today, I believe, being the last day. They are replaying it in movie theaters all around the country, which is really cool. So if if you've never seen it on the big screen, I definitely recommend taking the time and taking the opportunity to do that. And so I remembered being in middle school was the time that Star Wars really got big for me, and I didn't honestly know too much about it. I kind of only had a general idea of the storyline, but just being in school and talking to all your other friends and stuff, I kind of pieced it all together. And I guess why that sounds a little bit weird is because I don't 100% remember when I first saw a Star Wars movie. Yeah, I think it was A New Hope. I think it also may have been Return of the Jedi, and I'm not sure if I actually saw it in the theaters or not. But regardless, that's kind of where my story with Star Wars began. And I think that it was with Return of the Jedi just because, from my parents and stuff and gifts that I got, I had a lot of action figures and toys from the Return of the Jedi series. So either they were just random gifts that my parents thought I would think was cool, or I don't remember. It was such a long time ago. I really don't remember my story of where my saga with Star Wars began. I remember much later on when I was in high school, right around the time, it would be a few years later when you see more later Power of the Force stuff come out, as they ramped up for episode 1 and stuff, around 97, but much before that, around 94 to 96, that was when I started getting back into watching the original trilogy of movies. They had some remastered editions and stuff, and I really got back into Star Wars then. And I was also mowing lawns, and so I would use the money I got from mowing lawns or my allowance, and there was a store that I would go to, and I would ride my bike, and it was a couple of miles from my house, and I would ride my bike, and I would pick up Star Wars figures there and stuff, and that's how I started my collection. Now, my first official toy that I have that is from when I was growing up is this little model. I'm not sure what the make of this. I don't think it might be a Snap-Tite model. I don't really remember the other brand names of models off the top of my head. But this is a Return of the Jedi B-Wing model. And this thing's in, just horrible shape, but that's because it's lived a good life. It's survived all these years. I'm honestly surprised there's still as much of it in one piece as it is. But you see this a lot on B-Wings or a lot of Star Wars vehicles, where the laser cannons and stuff snap off, and that's very common. And I think it's really interesting. This, to me, seems like where the Star Wars Action Fleet, the Micro Machines line, got its idea from, because it has a little peg where you could put it on a little display there like that, and then you can, turn it like this. You can turn the cockpit there, and you can twist it all around as if you're, piloting the B-Wing and stuff. And yeah, I think this actually might have been a Revell. That's the name I'm thinking of, a Revell Star Wars model kit, which they had quite a few of. And I remember me and my dad built this and put that together. And it's always kind of weird because, my dad really wasn't into, a lot of stuff like that. But I think Star Wars, he kind of took a liking to it more than I would have guessed, and saw that I was interested in it and stuff like that. So this is my very first and only really truly original Star Wars toy that I've kept from many, many years ago, growing up. So that's really cool, even though it's kind of busted up. I think that's really neat. My second favorite toy here, and that has got to be Boba Fett. I have had this thing Oh, I don't know, probably give or take, like right before I was about to like graduate high school or something like that. And this has always been one of my favorites. The paint is really badly scratched on him, but he still has his laser gun there, his laser rifle, and I've got this nice little stand for him just so that way it, you know, makes it easier for him to stand up without falling over, although he does stand up, you know, on his own. And Boba Fett has always pretty much been my favorite Star Wars character. I don't know why. I just think it's the armor. I just think he's cool. He's silent. There's a lot of mystery going on behind him. Like, you know, you never see his face throughout the series and everything. And just really cool. So this is probably one of my first figures that I got later on, and definitely my favorite one out of the series. Now these next couple of ones here, these are ones that I also got later on as I was getting ready to, you know, my last couple of years of high school or whatever. But these were ones that I had when I was growing up. So it's weird. These are kind of from when I was growing up, just they're from later on. But I had them also earlier, you know, before. These aren't the same ones, but, you know, years and years before, like around 1983, I had some of these figures. Now, one of the first ones I remember having when I was growing up was, you know, little Wicket here, Ewok, and he doesn't have any of his accessories or anything like that, but, you know, he was a fun little guy. Just looks like a weird little teddy bear. I remember when I was growing up thinking that. I was like, that's so bizarre. It's like he's just this weird, like, teddy bear thing. I just kind of thought he was neat because he's so small. Like, you know, he's like the height of Yoda. And then I also had, at least I'm pretty sure that I had this, the original Luke, you know, with his yellow extendable lightsaber and everything like that. And I think I might have had Ben Kenobi, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so that's why I didn't pair him with these figures, because I wasn't sure enough to really say if I ever had him when I was growing up or not. But I definitely remember having Luke. And then this was also one of my favorites, of course, X-Wing pilot Luke Skywalker here. And, you know, he was one of my favorites because I loved his jumpsuit, and my favorite color was orange when I was growing up, and, well, it still is today. And so, yeah, you know, my parents or whatever, knowing that, you know, of course they picked this up for me. And, you know, so he was really cool, and I always had him, like on my dresser or whatever like that. And I also had one that I don't have shown here because I don't have the figure. I had, well, it kind of goes with Chewie. Chewie was another one that I had. And I love my Chewbacca figure. It's just so cool. It's so weird how the hair molds down, like you can't tell where his head begins and everything like that. But Chewbacca's awesome. One of the best figures in the entire series, bar none. And so to go along with this, I had Chewbacca, and I had the C-3PO that you pulled apart, and then he had the little knapsack that Chewbacca would wear on his back, you know, from The Empire Strikes Back. And, you know, he'd put all his parts in the knapsack and put him back together and everything. So that's how I remember I had Chewbacca, because I had that C-3PO that pulled apart, which I don't have in my collection yet, and I really need to add that back to my collection. So while these were ones that I got later on, you know, throughout like high school, that I got with my own money and stuff like that, they're not like my originals per se that I had, like, you know, when I was growing up, like, you know, in 1983 or 84 when they originally came out. But those are some of the ones that I had, you know, when the movie first came out. And these are also ones that I got at the same store, and I believe at a flea market that me and my friend used to go to. So, you know, these were later, as I was getting ready to graduate high school, and maybe one or two after high school, things like that. So this is my only on-card original Nikto, you know, which isn't particularly valuable or whatever, but, you know, I think I paid like less than $5 for this, and I just got there's some Scotch tape up there because that's how I keep him displayed on my wall and stuff like that. And so that's cool. That's really special to me because that was my first on-card figure that I ever had. I just love the artwork with all the figures you can collect and everything, and the pictures, you know. I always loved the Combat Glider. I always wanted that. The Ewok Assault Catapult, very neat. Size Noodles and the Rebo Band, I really wanted that growing up. The Rancor, really awesome, you know. So those pictures were really fun. I love that Combat Glider. It was just so cool. That, like, with just the wings, and you could drop the boulders and everything. The Ewok stuff, say what you will about the Ewok stuff, but their playsets and stuff were fun. I always liked them. I thought they were cool. And a friend of mine had the Ewok, you know, Treehouse playset, and I remember I played with that when I would go visit him at his house and stuff. And this is another similar one to Nikto, the Emperor's Royal Guard. But unfortunately, his little blister has popped off over the years, so all I have left is the card. He's missing his staff. No clue where that went. And yeah, same thing, picture on the back and all that. But that's another one I think that I, again, like, paid next to nothing for, you know, $5-6, and that thing was like almost mint when I first got it. And it's just, you know, this is the early to mid 90s, and you know, this vintage stuff, you could find it really cheap. You know, people weren't collecting it, you know, like crazy and everything. And I always liked the Royal Guard. I think they're really neat. They just look really cool and imposing. You know, again, kind of like same thing with Boba Fett. There's a lot of mystery with the mask and the cape, and you know, you can just, oh, you can only see my one hand and my feet and my helmet, and wow, I've got this cape. And you're like, ooh, crazy caped red man of mystery. there's so much going on. They're just, I don't know. There's not a lot going on, but yet there is a lot going on because you don't know what their story is, and I think that's what makes them cool. And then finally, but certainly last but not least, this is also something that I got later on as I was in, like, you know, high school or getting out of high school, you know, what have you. This is a Wampa, and I got this with the box. Again, I paid like nothing for this. It was like $5. I mean, if I think it was $8, I would be surprised. It was ridiculously cheap, and just very cool. You know, it has the box there, and you got him whacking, you know, Luke and everything on his Tauntaun, smacking him off there, getting ready to destroy him and eat him. And even though the box is beat up, I still think it looks really cool. And this has always been one of my favorite figures, just because I've had him for so long. You know, I've had this guy for forever, going on, you know, over 25, maybe even close to 30 years at this point. So he's one of my favorites, and just really goofy looking. Like the way they did the Wampas, like his face, it always reminds me of like a jack-o'-lantern because it has the triangle eyes. So it's just they're really goofy. Like they don't translate. And yeah, this thing's seen some better days. From you know, they don't translate from anything like how the Wampa's face looked like from the movie. It's just so bizarre, very cartoony. Reminds me of like that N64 game Shadows of the Empire. That's more what this looks like than the movie version. But still really cool, and one of my favorite figures in my collection. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to do it. I hope you all had a great, you know, May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day, and hope you enjoyed me sharing some stories of some of my favorite memories, you know, just from the Star Wars franchise, and some of my Star Wars toys as well. So please be sure to comment down below if you have any, you know, awesome memories of your first Star Wars toys, or when you saw, you know, whether it was A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi, or, you know, even if it wasn't one of those, if it was one of the prequels or something like that, you know, like what's your first Star Wars memory? What's your favorite Star Wars memory? Do you have any favorite Star Wars toys? Make sure to leave all that awesome stuff down below in the comments, and I will see you guys next time, and until then, may the 4th be with you. Take care.
Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and you can follow me at Facebook at King of Retro, or Twitter at #8ByteBrian. See you next time!